are back here in Montreal, Canada for the StarCraft 2 World Championship Series as we make our way into the third group stage. This is it. This is the World Championship Series. I'm Nathaniel, joined on the desk by Rotterdam and Fear Dragon, as it's time to find out who's going to be making it to the round of 16. Fear Dragon, some upsets, some surprises. Give me something that you enjoyed out of that second group stage. Who are you excited to watch try to really fight for it and make it into the playoffs?
I mean, I was, of course, very biased, and I was very excited for both Semper and Jon Snow, who I figured that they had a good chance in making it. I was surprised that Jon Snow was able to make it out first in his group, which was really, really awesome. Jon Snow, one of those players that has made it to the playoffs or made it to the round of 16 before, but never been able to make it further. And he's even struggled to get back to that round of 16. So interested to see how he's going to do.
Rotterdam, any heroes that you found in your second group stage?
Maybe not necessarily a hero, but for me, the most surprising result of that entire second group phase was that Silky was able to take the first series over HeroMarine. It wasn't enough. He's eliminated. HeroMarine did advance, but we all know Big Gabe. Big Gabe never enters a series with the idea of not giving it his all. So the fact that Silky can take an offline series against HeroMarine, well, this tournament is so freaking important for HeroMarine because he's right on the edge of being in the top 8 of making it to the global finals or not. I thought it was a very impressive performance, even if it meant that he didn't move on in the end. That's still a really big victory, if you ask me.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting thing to think about, losing his series to one of our American players out there.
Yeah.
As you know, WCS, we generally consider that the American players are from it's the weaker region. You know, as one of the American players myself, I guess I can just say that. Let's put it out there.
Leave me alone,
We
Robbie.
all know. We all know.
Why do you keep rubbing it in?
For WCS especially.
Production really missed an amazing opportunity there. While you said that, I wanted an ISO shot on Fear Dragon alone. That's
Just zooms in gradually
the
on
look
my
of
face,
helplessness.
becoming more and more depressed.
Okay, can we reproduce that one more time? What did you say, Nate? Sorry.
You know, NA's just been one of the weaker regions that we've seen in WCS this year. Okay, it's okay. We didn't get the head turn from Fear Dragon, but you know, and I think that also comes to play as well. The players that you would expect to do well in WCS, as far as like crushing it in the tournaments and making it super deep every time, we haven't seen that from Scarlet or Neve. They've had a bit. It's been a little bit of a rockier road from them. A lot of their big wins coming outside of WCS.
But I'm still expecting a lot from both of them. I'm with Ravi on that one. I think we all are. Neep, of course. I mean, all the fans are super eager to see Neep after that great run in Korea, and I can repeat myself over and over again. Damn it, it's such a long day.
My time and time again.
Time and time again works as well, but Scarlet was incredibly close to defeating Cerro in Valencia. She was by far the closest of everyone, and I really have that feeling that between those two, it's very close. And I think if anyone is going to defeat Cerro, of course, there are some others out there, but Scarlet is my #1 pick to do so.
Her ZvZ is pretty amazing. And let's talk a little bit about this next matchup. We've got True against HeroMarine. We were just talking about Big Gabe dropping a match to one of our American players, but he comes in as a big favorite in the European scene. A lot of fans, big streamer on constantly, and someone who's also known for being a little bit vocal on his opinions about the game.
He's a very enjoyable one, that is. Now, of course, True is someone that I know you're quite a fan of, right, Rob?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan. You know what? I feel like every single time I bring True up, I'm like, you know what? I think True's gonna do really well. Everyone just shouts me down. I was like, no, True's terrible, especially all the Europeans.
He's too cheesy.
They feel like, oh man, no, that True's never gonna make it very far. But I'm a big believer in this guy. He is very spiky. He also plays a little bit like a clown, but he's like a clown with a knife. I keep saying this. He's just kind of going to stab you.
Yeah,
I'm not ready to get back into Clown Fiesta jokes. Right?
You can't ever say that True is terrible. That's just super unfair, because he shows us time and time again that he is capable of mixing up his play as well. And of course, he's got his own weird, unique play style, and he's going to be floating money while only making lings and queens. But that's just who he is, and he's successful with it. I think Cheesy Delphi was not that long ago, and he really was dominant in that tournament. And that was not an easy cheese at all. There really were a lot of great players in it, so I have high hopes of True. I can absolutely see him into the top 8, but further is tough.
I love this matchup because it makes me think about True versus HeroMarine at Montreal
2 years
just
ago.
2 years ago, and that was right before he made his way up there. HeroMarine had, and this was, I'll never forget this match because it was like the first game, everybody knows how True plays, and HeroMarine did this like sick build with a ton of Hellions, absolutely crushed him, and then the next 2 games, like he did like a normal Marine opening, and True just did his thing and swallowed up the Marines, denied the pushes, and
But that was like semifinals already, right?
yeah,
Back then?
that was it was very
It
deep
was
in the tournament.
Finals 3-1 in favor of True for
And
this.
then he went on to play Polt and kill him with Mass Ling Bane every single game of that series as well.
That's a beautiful jersey, by the way, that HeroMarine is rocking. And they've upgraded their jerseys.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of those jerseys. No, they look awesome. I think HeroMarine is the favorite here, but after
Yeah.
losing against Silky in the previous round, I would be a little more hesitant.
Silky plays so differently than True, though. I mean, nobody plays like True. There is actually
That's fair.
nobody in the world, not even No Regret plays like True. But Silky likes playing a lot of like the Korean Zergs. He studies the Korean Zergs. He plays on the Korean server almost primarily, and actually I think only really plays on the Korean server. And True is just his own brand of insanity. So I don't know. I feel like we're going to expect something very different from True than Silky through at HeroMarine.
Yeah, it's a tough call because when True plays well, like his style is very hard to deal with. If you leave your base, if you have any depots left unraised, it's very easy for him to find opportunities to slip in, and I think that's what makes him an exciting player to watch. He's always got something out on the map. He's always looking for opportunities.
But HeroMarine is a smart player, right? HeroMarine is not a robotic kind of Terran that has like his one playstyle that he always sticks to, and he's not someone that never adjusts to his opponent. I think HeroMarine is pretty smart at analyzing the way that his opponents play, and in general has a really good approach to the best of 3 or the best of 5 series. So I'm definitely leaning towards HeroMarine, but once again, what kind of HeroMarine are we watching today? Is he weaker than he normally is? Is he not as in shape? Did he have a rough travel here? Maybe he had some delays, you never know. Because so far it hasn't been super convincing, just purely focusing on the results because I haven't been able to watch the games.
Yeah, one thing I'm really interested in is that I know HeroMarine is really well known for his kind of parade pushes, right? Where he's just rallying across the map, setting up, and just continuously pushing. And I actually really wonder how that's actually going to fare versus True, who loves his counterattacks, who loves to constantly get on the counter-aggressive, even when he's losing everything back at home. He has Lings going on the other side of the map. And if HeroMarine isn't leaving a lot of units at home, that could turn into a weird situation.
No, stylistically it's interesting, but once again, I also feel that HeroMarine will make adjustments.
Yeah.
I believe that you're going to see a more conservative HeroMarine.
Yep.
Once he moves out, he will move out with the idea to straight up win the game. He's not going to move out to get little sieging positions all
even
over
just
the map.
pushing in waves instead of like making it like a non-stop push that you have, like you build up always brings me back to like when Innovation would do that sort of style where he'd have like everything rallied to the front of his base and he wouldn't and then he would just bring them in waves so you couldn't really counterattack him. I think we got a couple players, especially Cyril has come up as another player that's really well used that style of constantly looking for the backstabs. Of course, you see Cyril's a bit more of a late game player than True. Is HeroMarine's goal then to drag this series out, get into the long ones?
I don't think it's necessarily drag it out. Like I don't want to call this Ghost Liberator all the way, but I do believe strong 70+ SCV economies, and then then really go for the big blows and not necessarily putting all of your eggs into a 48 SCV push or slowly but steady expanding. Like no, I think you gotta see a slow save, but at the same time still controlled aggression by HeroMarine. As long as he has something that's active on the other side of the map, I think he's gonna feel pretty good in the series.
Yeah, I think I would agree with a lot of that. And just the idea is, I think True is the player that is always just saying, I'm going to find opportunities to punish you or to find some damage on you that you weren't quite ready for. So as long as HeroMarine has that solid early game, I do think as the game goes on, like Roddy said, just play it out sort of safe and standard and just don't let too many of those mistakes pile up.
Now, of course, this is the opening match of Group Stage 3, so the loser is not out by any means, but these are two players that are very close to that top 8, right? HeroMarine is currently in it, but True is 11th, and of course, True has made it into the global finals for the last 2 years in a row, so True at least, I would say, needs a quarterfinals here, but preferably a semifinals to really be safe to make it into the global finals 3 years in a row. But this is a match where I already feel it's more than just a group stage match. This is a match that can have big implications on those WCS standings.
It's going to be very important for True to get a deep run in this tournament. Let's introduce our players on the main stage. Smix, ready to get our playoff qualification matches going.
Thank you very much, Nathanias. Before I introduce our next 2 players, I want to check in with you guys in the audience. Are you guys excited? This match should be special as 2 years ago, it's at this event in Montreal where True secured his ticket to the WCS Global Finals. We'll see if he can continue his magical run here this year or if Big Gabe will stop him. Please welcome up on stage, it is HeroMarine and True.
shake hands and head to their booths to play out this match, which should be a feisty one. True, as we see it, that 2016 WCS Summer Champion was actually, what was it, his only event that he played in that entire year, right?
Yep.
Getting his visa processed. He showed up, he's like, well, I gotta win this if I wanna go to BlizzCon, and win it he did.
And it's a little similar 2 years later. I mean, he doesn't have to win it to go to BlizzCon, but he has to at least make it into the semifinals, which would be a deeper run than he had in any of his other WCS events up to this year. So it's maybe not necessarily win it or bust, but it is outperform yourself compared to the rest of the year for Drew.
I like our crowd polling a little bit. 67% HeroMarine's got a lot of fans out there. But True has a style that I think really is momentum based as well, where once True kind of gets, I feel like if he gets that first push in on you, you get the first run by, it becomes like progressively more difficult to leave your base without getting hit by another one. And it's one of those things you really have to be careful about against someone like HeroMarine.
Mistakes beget mistakes. It's like when you make one mistake, you start trying to focus. It's like, I gotta move on, and you just try and fix that mistake, and then something else kind of starts to fall, and it's always about trying to make sure the first mistake doesn't happen, I feel like.
Yeah. As we are moments away from getting this game underway, do either of you have a favorite in this match, someone that you think will win?
I think with the amount of Zergs that HeroMarine in general plays on the European server, where he's still so successful, always has deep runs in WCS, often only gets stopped by Serral, I feel like you have to give it here to HeroMarine to be a pretty significant favorite. Unless True really has leveled up his game over the last 2 months and really comes out of the gates here and truly surprises at least me, but I would say us.
You Fear Dragon?
I mean, Nate, my head says HeroMarine, but my NA heart says True.
I can get behind that.
Okay. That's one way of looking at it. I think I'm still kind of like weird about the whole Silky thing that you were talking about.
Yeah.
But I do think that's a good point.
Silky has been playing so well lately.
But we don't mean anything with that.
Yeah.
He's like, no, we love Silky.
What'd you say about NA?
No, and Silky has been playing great, but Silky versus HeroMarine, that's normally almost a David versus Goliath match.
Yeah.
Because you're looking at someone who's breaking into the top 8.
If we were breaking that match down here. Yeah. Anyway, game is ready to start, guys. Enjoy your Terran versus Zerg. It's going to be True versus HeroMarine.
And welcome everybody to Group Stage 3. The first match will be this Zerg versus Terran. I'm in control, and she's Zombie Grub. Zombie, who's taking this?
I gotta go with HeroMarine.
Nice.
Yep.
Short and to the point. I like that.
Yep.
Well, hey, we're going to introduce these players because this is the first match, and we got to talk about them a little bit. Lower right-hand side, the Blue Zerg from Korea, plays in North America quite a bit. It's True. If his last name is Lee, he would be Bang True Lee.
That's true.
That's a fun fact.
Well, his first name. Anyways, in the top left, as the red Terran, it is HeroMarine.
Do you know why they call him Big Gabe?
No.
Neither do I.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Fantastic player, though, in the top left-hand side here. Let's talk a little bit about this map for TVZ. Roddy went on and on about this, talked about it being a very bad map for TVZ, but yet again, here we see it. What do you think about that?
I mean, I think he's right.
Yeah.
I believe the stats are he's actually backed up by stats, but it's a weird thing where I thought the last map will also had like 1 or 2 that weren't favorable for Terran, but you figure out the nice tank spots, you kind of figure out the more common run by paths of the Zerg, and then maybe you yourself feel confident. But I think Protoss is the one that's struggling on the maps. Talked a little bit about that on the desk. For TVZ, there might be some extreme imbalance because it's new maps, right? There's only 50 pro games or something like that played on some of these. But anyways, there's just it's so much down to for TVZ. It's percentages, very slight percentage differences, and then what do you like? What do you want to do?
Right.
And perhaps HeroMarine let this one by because of the opponent he's facing, as this is not just a TVZ but a Terran versus True.
I was just going to ask you about that. A lot of this, we'd break it down about the kind of traditional play styles, but we're not facing that with True, right? He's going to bring his own brand of gameplay here, and it's going to get a little bit weird. Do you think that could be a problem for HeroMarine, who's very much so used to the kind of meta-locked-in Zergs of the European scene?
It potentially could be, but again 100% agree with Roddy. I think he's too smart of a player, to be caught up and be like, what? True does run-bys, who'd have thunk it? He can really mix up his style of play, and as we're watching here, he's kind of hiding his factory, so I was going to mark that he might be the one that actually mixes it up. True is the kind of the one that can come in here and be like, well, I think I know how HeroMarine plays, even though they don't play each other very often or at all. The last time they played was 2016. I see no reason why they would play on ladder.
Right.
So True is the one that might be the one surprise, funnily enough, is he really gets into his rhythm, kind of the post-build order stage of Terran. Like, the Terran chooses what they want to do. They do the Hellions, do the Banshee, like something like that. And then True deals with it, and then he does his, like, run-bys and his complex play. But HeroMarine's going to mix things up from the get-go by going for a Cyclone here, and I'm guessing a Medevac.
You think Medevac?
Or a Liberator.
Yeah, there's no add-on being added on that factory. It is going to be that Cyclone. I was actually kind of thinking if you put it back here, you're supposed to be hiding Cloaked Banshee, and certainly that could still be the follow-up. But to your point, it is going to be that Medevac. And with the first Cyclone popping out and presumably a second one going to get keyed up here, it'll be a double Cyclone attack. Now this Overlord, yeah, okay, it's going to pull back, because if it goes in there, 4 Marines will kill it very quickly, will not see much.
So HeroMarine is kind of vocal. Like, he does so much streaming that if he could have prepared for this match, and there's no way you can really with these weekend events, he could have watched and been like, so HeroMarine doesn't really like Hellion Banshee, but he sees 4 Marines, now he sees a Cyclone, and HeroMarine does like his drop play. He thinks like Hellion drops can be very good, and this is not too surprising to see from HeroMarine, even though it might be a little bit out of the mix of like your most typical TVZs. But for True, he finally gets a full scout because Overlord speed finish, and the Marine just can't kill it fast enough. But this is still kind of a complicated play. The Cyclone, it buffers so much. It has so much health that, of course, DPS is very high. You can definitely snipe down Queens. And then it's not that much of an investment either. So we are following up with Hellion Banshee, but there's a little trick before it.
I do like it, and as you said, the build time on kind of all the units that came out of this too is not extensive, so it's not really slowing down everything else. It is going to be Cloaked Banshee behind this, but I do have to say, I love the speed Overlord play from True, and we're going to have this push get a little bit of chip damage, as Roddy was putting it, but not much else. Some pulled drones, not really anything super significant. But with that speed Overlord, it's kind of that thing too, where like when you face True, you're like, you know what? If I could pull a fast one on him, make him start to think I can get ahead. But that's exactly the game where he has speed Overlord, sees exactly what you're doing, and all of a sudden it's like, is True going to be the reactive one?
Yeah, apparently. It certainly seems that way. The lair goes down on the third base, which is always a little bit odd, but it does feel like True does that more than anyone else. We have an Armory combined with this Hellion Banshee, Medevac, Cyclone Marine, like everything really coming out here. But the thing is, he's piling it all together. There are other options. He could maybe drop the Hellion somewhere else, but no, he's going to go for a push with a lot of high DPS units. The Banshee not being accounted for quick enough. They can actually cancel the Spore Crawler, and there wouldn't be detection. He would know that, seeing the lair is only on the way.
And now keep in mind, this is the morphing lair, so if this base goes down, that's basically the game. There's not really any coming back from that. The Banshee might have overstayed its welcome, but it is able to pull back again, okay. And it will survive for now. Spotting a pretty decently saturated natural should give you an idea of what he's facing here. Gonna go for the counterattack, but this is a sealed up base for now, and that's gonna have to be a repeated theme if HeroMarine's gonna wanna win this one, because True will poke and prod with huge numbers of links.
HeroMarine played a little bit safe there. I mean, still a number of Queens. Figured he couldn't actually do anything about that Spore Crawler, and it's so far a perfect game for HeroMarine because of his very reserved play. I'm not too surprised to even go mech. I guess like the whole like, you know, is this really great for mech or bios? Will remains to be determined. Actually, we have a push here first. There's a lot more Hellbats.
All right, Ling's gonna again try to poke and prod over here. They are getting that depot quite low. It's not being able to repair it very effectively, but that means this force jumps on top of the natural. And now there's a Hellbat back there. That's not gonna be a good Link counterattack. The drones! No. The drone, I forgot about the drones, and they're gonna stack up and get absolutely annihilated. As 12 die, they're going to retreat to the third base, but that's not where the Queens are, Zombie. They ran into the main.
He's desperately trying to get a Roach Warren as he realizes that it's Hellbats. It's a lot of Hellbats. He's going to be back from here on out, but it might just be too late. As True is losing so much army. He's not at a supremely high drone count, so the 12 didn't matter. No, he's at a really quite a low one. The Medevac finally goes down, but the Queens, I mean, I guess they'll finally clean things up, and HeroMarine took a nice bit of damage away with him. Behind this, I believe he double expanded. So he is in a pretty fine position. Although it looks like those Lings that were pestering him, oh no, they just canceled. Yeah, okay, never mind. I thought he canceled it, but no, he just lifted it.
Yeah, they've been trying all game long, but really not getting in there and doing much. You can see 4 SCVs did die somewhere. Have to imagine that was with some kind of counterattack at the natural. Army supply an advantage of our Terran player. Worker supply an advantage of our Terran player. Base count soon to be in advantage of HeroMarine. I mean, I'm running out of things to say he's ahead on.
Yeah. True is going to be in recovery mode for quite some time, but knowing it is mech, maybe you think you have a little bit more time than if it was bio and just immediately like follows up with 2 and then 4 medevacs and so on. But it's definitely going to be a hard game for True. I was talking about, before the action started, that I think that mech would be a smart plan against True's style. As we saw there, not only was there really great Sim City, but HeroMarine can just leave 2 Hellbats behind, especially if he gets Blue Flame. And that is actually... True isn't really like the Roach run-by player. He's the Ling run-by guy, right? Yeah. The only guy I can think of that does a very good job with Roach run-bys in this matchup anyways is kind of Cyril, right? So, like, yeah, Hellbat's the perfect counter.
Answer.
I'm sorry. Team Liquid will yell at me later.
He's always so good. But yeah, here comes a couple of Thors in their baby carriage mode. Gonna fly across the map here. And normally this is like a little bit of kind of like the double Archon. I'm gonna get some harass, do some damage, but it's just now Roaches coming out for True, and they're unupgraded Roaches. They will have Roach speed, so that's okay, but the potential for this is quite high, and that's the luxury you have when you pull so far ahead like HeroMarine. Every move after that, you're like, oh, what a brilliant call. That's a great one. Oh, that's a good call too. Yeah.
He's doing exactly what, like, gosh, HeroMarine can be one smart cookie, man. The only reason he's not gotten to the finals is really because of Cyril, but this could have also gone to the 4th base that was building, maybe gotten like a straight up cancel. He's actually he's gonna engage the Roaches.
Why not?
It's not gonna do as much as maybe he was hoping for, but goes for the drones.
No, a little bit of miss micro there. And one of the nice things about True too, by the way, is every time we look at a battle, you can almost assume there's some kind of counterattack happening, which oftentimes True's opponent will like do a micro mistake or make a weird call, and you're like, what are they thinking? Well, they're oftentimes defending back at home against a very scary counterattack. Now, that wasn't super the case this time, but what I really like about HeroMarine's play is he's also aggressively expanding. And as a mech player, if they get up to 4 or 5 bases, especially fast, they can just kind of win by drowning you in over-quality units.
Yeah, he's expanding to his 4th because he got it so darn quick with an orbital. That's a pretty bold move, but it seems
orbital
like
too, you're right.
He's figured out there's a nice wall off to that left side, so that is pretty well protected. And really, his army does only have to protect this 4th, and as such, it kind of protects the rest. Maybe a Sensitor off to the left side in the future, and he really is quite good to go with these bases, even without a planetary. Obviously, getting the head start too really does make it that gap can be kind of, you can squeeze into it as a Terran player to actually get so many command centers in a matchup where usually you're the one, really having a tough time doing so.
And True's going to be a little bit confused here because he shows up to the more kind of traditional 3rd or 4th base spot, and it's actually the lower one. But Hellions are going to sneak right in here, and True, unfortunately, is a little bit late to react as a lot more drones are going to die. And True's not really known as a high drone count type Zerg anyway, so every drone that dies is pretty precious. But here does come that counterattack, and it's unfortunately going to be met with a lot of stuff.
I mean, yeah, like half the tanks were on siege, but those were so many Hellbats to get through that True, I think, realized his mistake too. Lose a big chunk of what is usually very cheap units, and he made them, he wanted to harass with them, that's all well and good, but he is trying to also get like better units, right? The Hive is coming up, but his unit quality is not very good. His remax potential is actually very, very low as he loses the rest of the offensive Roaches. And now it's about HeroMarine's push.
And that was just what was left behind. Here comes the main thrust, as Zombie Grip talked about. Now, True's going to go for the counterattack, and honestly, that's his only option. You can't fight this army head on. You don't circle it. You don't buy time. You're so far behind. You got to do something. And he's going to go for that counterattack. Now, this low ground 3rd base is mostly exposed, but he's going to jump up to the high ground. And we have a lot of fighting happening at once, but it's pretty paltry defense as that base should die almost immediately. And now True is going to readjust and go after the 3rd where there are no tanks there.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to do economic damage. HeroMarine, though, with 4 orbitals, doesn't really mind losing even an entire SCV saturation worth, as long as he doesn't have that base trait snowball, where 30 Roaches on your production can actually make you start sweating. It's not that game. HeroMarine, I think, still feeling okay with the damage he's doing, the damage he's taken. He's going to have the 2-2 upgrades finishing soon as well, so this ends up being the right call.
And these tanks hit so hard, the drones are going to get pulled. It's going to be a citizen's arrest, but the damage could very well be done as the Roaches are going to try and help at the front lines there, but they're just holding together, and HeroMarine pulling up 50 going on 60 supply. A lot of that's army, but some of it's workers as well. And True's going to have to come with the hard facts. He did dislodge that base, but as casters have asked for literally hundreds of years, at what cost?
Oh, at least we get some juicy barbecue before True's inevitable tap out. He's down half the supply.
Just get out. More drones are going to die, man. Just get out of here.
No, he's got like 12 Roaches, man.
All right, he's going to fight it out here.
12 unupgraded Roaches, really. That's actually seriously what he's waiting for, I think, is just to use his Roaches.
True's going to let the butterflies set a little bit in his stomach. He is in group stage 3, so I think this is actually his first.
Yes.
Right, he didn't play any other group stage, so here he is.
Yeah.
He's got a tough one. HeroMarine's been battling all day. Fought in that hard European scene against very good Zergs, and as Zombie Grub said earlier, and I have to agree, it might just be Cyril that's stopping us from talking about a much more successful year of HeroMarine. He's gonna catch some tanks, is true, but it is a little bit comical at this point in time. I'm running out of analogies to tell you about how far behind he is. And that's it. He's gonna come to grips with it. GG as HeroMarine takes that first game off the back of some mechanical Terran play.
He's certainly mechanical, as good macro, but also limited life units. But also a bit of surprising play. I think HeroMarine not being a player who enjoys just the standard Hellion Banshee, or even just like he does like some like regular old non-aggressive 3cc builds, but the point is he's doing a lot of drops, a lot of aggression, a lot of like mixing up the timings of when you usually expect. Like how many Hellbats, when they're coming, what are they coming with? Like he really mixes it up, and that felt like, you brought it up, it's like, it's weird, but True is being the reactive one. So this is maybe like, that game certainly didn't go according to plan, because he lost. But then what about the next series? Like, did he take those last 2 minutes or however much it was after he was pretty much dead to think about that and be like, hold on here, do I have to actually reevaluate what I need to do?
Keep in mind, too, that map is traditionally very good for Zerg versus Terran. That doesn't mean that it's impossible for Zerg to win, obviously, but it is a little bit of an opportunity lost. Now, HeroMarine comes into this hungry. The analysis desk talked a lot about it, but he very likely is in that kind of chopping block spot where he could be going to BlizzCon, which is immediately, obviously, a lot of money and prestige, but it's also, for these pro players, destination, it has to happen. It's what they want. It's what they kind of base their careers off of. And I do like the storyline that we have here as True would make it 3 years in a row of going to BlizzCon. As always, the counted out Zerg, by the way, right? Like,
yeah.
A lot of people, when they talk about True, because of his play style, because of his kind of unassuming nature, there's not people out there that feel like he's a big powerhouse, yet he keeps beating people. But he's got a tall order here.
That is true. He certainly discounted a lot, despite being like consistently at BlizzCon, winning Montreal 2 years ago. The rest of their group, though, is take a look. It's True, HeroMarine, and then Masa and Shadone.
Okay.
So I feel like True, even though it's not, he would love to win against HeroMarine, clearly, right? Like, I feel like he's in a pretty good shot to win, unless ZvT really is a bad matchup for him.
Yeah. Because
Masa could certainly take second as well.
Everything you said is smart and good, but I'm sorry.
Thanks.
When I looked at the groups, I immediately saw the group that Stefano landed in. This is on a meme level. Like, Stefano, who just on stage with Smix was like, hey, give me one Zerg, give me 2 other races, I'll be fine with it. He lands in a group with Cyril, Toot Ming, one of the top Chinese Zergs, and Denver, another French Zerg. He's in a 4 Zerg group again. How does this guy do it?
Oh, that is quite amazing. Jeez. Also amazing, Terran versus Zerg. As we're getting into another one. It's game number 2 on Acid Plant. The top left taking a devastating loss. It is the blue Zerg, True, for Skystorm Gaming.
See what you did there? Thank you, Montreal, for turning up. Always a great audience here in this beautiful city. In the lower right-hand side, coming from Germany, it's the young buck himself, HeroMarine. The best Terrans in all of Europe, looking for those results, and he could do it here against True. Now, True, it's worth mentioning, is one of those Zergs that I think is pretty unfazed by an otherwise fairly brutal beating, right? Like everything you said, I absolutely agree with. You're talking about how it was mech play, it was a little bit off kilter, it was a different kind of map where True should be feeling more comfortable. A lot of Zergs would take that all into account and kind of freak out, but True's the kind of Zerg who could just be like, you know what, 3 hatch before pool, I don't know. He's not doing that, but he could.
It's been a while since I've seen that. Is that going to come back?
Hopefully never.
Probably never. But yeah, I feel like True is, even though the story for him is like Ling run buys, he obviously isn't like only about that. He is a consistently good player, although his tournament results this year have been a little more wonky than before. But he's consistently a good player and can definitely punch above his weight. And there's a reason for that. He's a good tournament player. He's a good best of player. You could say like, maybe some harsh things about his mechanics, sure, I guess. But no, he always usually can bring it back and not be phased, as you were talking about. So,
right.
I mean, HeroMarine, I believe, is once again going to be setting the pace, unless True. Well, I think the timing's already over, actually, for doing something super weird, unless it's like a 2-base Baneling boost.
This map's been a big map traditional for like 3 or 4 base, all roach, just kind of the big crack. The Terran takes their 3rd base, it's hard to defend between the bases. I could see True doing something like that. But to your point, I have to absolutely agree. True is that kind of player where, and this has been part of his success and failures of the past, but mostly success, I guess. He could be down 0-1, 0-2 or whatever, and he could be like, you know what? All in. You wouldn't expect it. A lot of people, when their backs are up against the wall, they play more safe. They play more defensive. They start to kind of pacify their play. True is capable of all-out aggression at any time. And that's part of what makes playing against him difficult. It's not going to be his perfect macro. It's not going to be his perfect micro. It's the fact that when you play him, you're playing True. You're not really playing against a Zerg.
Yeah, that's, yeah. I'm just noticing, like, True, we got six Lings against Ari, and HeroMarine once again opening with reactored Marines.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like he's too worried about getting stalled out, at least on the command center. He wouldn't lose it in most situations. But the point is, like, no SCV Scout, no Reaper Scout. And if True were to take this game, I wonder if it would be worthwhile doing something extremely cheesy. Even though it's kind of been figured out by our Terrans, like how to defend the 1-base or 2-base Ravager without scouting it, it's still obviously very tricky.
Yep, and it is going to be HeroMarine that mixes things up a little bit here. It's going to be a reactor off that factory first. And Zombie, you're a highly intelligent Terran player. Can you tell me where you think this is going with HeroMarine? He's going to mix it up here, but what does that reactor mean?
On the factory? Oh, okay, yeah. So swapping it over might go for, if he does swap it over. Okay, yeah, he does. Maybe like, I want to guess like 2 Liberators actually, because why, like 2 Medivacs?
Not 2
I'm not sure. No, actually. Oh, okay, so this actually has been done. Sorry.
What?
So two Medivacs, yeah.
Oh, 16 Marine.
Yes, yeah. So what you like, you actually can go in a mech after this as well. You can put like a WCS in there, which is exactly what he's doing. So I mean, this not been a thing for very long, which is I was like, hold on here, let the circuits work. But yeah, it can do a significant amount of damage. It looks silly almost to see 16 Marines dropped and like not automatically stim. To be honest, that's the automatic like perception of what's going to happen. But it's obviously a little bit earlier. If you had waited for stim, and then it does control kind of the game, make True defensive, just like the Cyclone drop did last game.
Little moment of hesitation, and I actually like this call against True. There could be links coming your way, so if you pick up all the Marines and just leave, it could cost you half your mineral line. But this Overlord's going to spot it pretty early. That's mid-map that these double Medivacs got caught. Now, what's important to note here is that while this is a little bit of a throwback, the double Medivac specifically really only leaves room for one thing. Like 4 tanks aren't going to come out of that. Hellions, no, probably not. It's going to be Marines in a Widow Mine. This
was so cool by HeroMarine. Like, I don't know if it was kind of like timing that worked out really well, but like those exact number of Marines left at home was exactly the amount to not take any SCV damage. Not only so that, obviously no SCV damage, but or less SCV damage, but so he could focus entirely on this, which doesn't do a whole lot, but with the Armory follow-up, with the Hellion follow-up, it's obvious that that's not really its goal. Maybe, hope True messes up his macro a little bit, but you want to combine the Marines, the Medivacs, with the Hellbats, maybe a Liberator to the main base, and you're forcing True to react to so many different things with units that are really unideal once again. True just sticking on Lings, not bothering to get that safety Roach Warren, or even a Baneling Nest.
Love the Queen count here, though, as they do get one of those Medivacs quite low in health. And again, oddly missing here is Stim, as these unupgraded Marines are going to try and take this fight. The Hellbats in the back do a pretty good job with the amount of Queens there. It'd be nice if they focused down the Medivacs. It's just one hanging there. There it is. It does get focused down, and now starting to shoot the Medivacs as they will pick up and leave. Now, I've liked the choice by HeroMarine, but I gotta say, at the end of the day, True's defense has been really quite nice. He's not taking a lot of damage. He's spent it on Lings and a couple of Queens, but mostly a good defense there.
That was, I agree. It was a ton of Lings to have to make, but it was a good thing to take seriously. Yeah. So, yeah, I still don't think it's like an amazing thing.
No,
but
and I like what you said too. He's forcing him to react to it, right? Because to your point, if you don't react at least at that level, you'll just die. It's Marines and Hellbats, and they'll kill Poultry Lings and a couple Queens.
It also could have been a lot worse if the Widow Mine had gotten more like priority targeting. Like I think he intentionally sniped a Queen with it because otherwise it would have splashed all of his units. So definitely could have been worse, could have been better. But now he got Hellbat drops and the Liberator harassment, which didn't get too much done, but still has continued chances, some nice positions. He does follow up into mech, which I want to say is actually the more popular to follow up, so True might expect this.
One Medivac dies immediately, and that force is pushed off. Liberator finding nice purchase here. Now, one thing to kind of keep note, it's a little bit hard for us from this angle, but I believe, okay, there's the 4th hatch just now going down. I would say if you're just doing Ling and Queen defense against this kind of stuff, only now getting the 4th is a point of minor concern. Now, you can see the 3rd for HeroMarine is just now floating over. So it's not the end of the day, but I feel like if you're skimming on tech in that way, your extra minerals, which you can see True is floating, should have gone to a faster hatch.
I do, yeah, I agree with that. So HeroMarine played his third base a little bit. You can see he took it as a non-orbital, which is really only advised when you've got a little bit of a later one and you're oversaturated. It's like more about getting the SCVs to proper saturation than it is about getting the energy. So it's a little bit later, but True to make so many lings. The work count's never really been ideal for Zerg, and yeah, that later fourth base probably should have been a bit quicker. And then he's going Ling, Baneling, Hydra, which most typically is the typical response to Bio. It can work against mech, but I feel like it eventually does die off, and I'm just hoping he does know it's mech, right? So that's
well, he's about to find out. This double Thor is going to make its way over here. Now, to your point, I would only offer that against the early stages of mech, the Hydras are pretty cool, but to your point, as it gets later and you're facing like 10 or 12 tanks, the Hydras drop off really quickly. They just need to kind of carry you into Hive. And that's going to be the best case result, as True is going to be tested here. That barely finished fourth base, just now getting saturated, is going to be greeted by two of HeroMarine's Thors and backed up by Hellbats. The same kind of attack we saw earlier. Meanwhile, there's a good counterattack heading over to the third base, but it's getting strung out into reinforcements.
Yeah, the Hellbats are once again, he put 2 in the third base and then 2 in the natural. Banelings will not kill these Thors. In fact, they're going to waste themselves killing the Thors. So it is going to be a snipe on that fourth base, which I think HeroMarine was very... Like, I think he figured he could get it, honestly. So he was right in that. It's getting really close, though, as he's not sniping the hatchery. There we go. And he'll save both Thors. Oh.
Get repaired if he takes them back home and call it a mission accomplished. There is no fifth base behind this, which would then become the fourth base. And True behind this has been stringing out Lings in this counterattack that hasn't done much. Now, one thing to note here, Lings are not expensive. It's okay to trade them out, but they are larva expensive. If you don't have a lot of base, if you don't have a lot of larvae around, that's all units that if you're not trading them out for something, it's kind of an opportunity loss. It's an interesting but 17th resource in this game, I suppose.
Oh, this is nice. No even potential, because one thing that HeroMarine is doing is maybe Lings will open to Baneling run-bys. Oh, actually got connections, okay. Because he's only leaving Hellbats, like the Banelings will still splash obviously on the SVs, but nope, not to find out. And HeroMarine also going into Cyclones. He got the Cyclone upgrade last game. They're kind of like, they're a good emergency defense against someone who surprised you with like Broodlords, for instance, but I think people will tell you that I'm a little questionable about the new, like, because Gumi Hill will do this a lot too. He'll like add in Cyclones, and I'm like, is it a good thing to do? Like, maybe.
It's interesting. It's more of a second wave kind of thing. Like, this push will come out.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times what the Zerg makes to put this down and have in response is okay for Cyclones, is what I'm guessing. Because I don't disagree with you, but all Terrans seem to do this right now.
Lordy.
True's fighting from one angle into a ramp of mech. That's not going to do it, as his force gets absolutely obliterated. He's making Banelings within vision of the mech force. I think this is the beginning of the end, as the remaining Hydras get dropped on by those Hellbats. Supply 60-some-odd advantage of our Terran player, and HeroMarine is looking at a pretty strong 2-0 to start this group off.
Yeah, True not able to trip him up, and in fact, the opposite continued to happen, so...
The opposite of tripping. It's like, he's helping him up. He's like, you know what? Let me elevate you to a win.
More like the opposite person was doing the tripping up there, but yes.
I tripped himself. Okay, that makes a lot more sense, I would say.
Yeah.
GG's call, and True's going to tap out as HeroMarine takes the 2-0. Looking good, looking strong. We did see Mech play in both games, but different ideas of how we get there. And Big Gabe with a nice win there.
Indeed, seemed to just know exactly how True's going to play. Reacts pretty perfectly. Love the change up into Mech. He can do either or, and True was not able to accommodate. But that was only the preliminary match of Group F. I still have more chances to get out either in first or second.
Yep. True will have to beat a couple of players. The other two players, of course, Masa and Shadone. Masa, a very clever and difficult TVZ player to play against. Shadone, surprisingly good result here, but the story's not over for True yet. He's going to want it. He's in 11th spot, but let's talk to our winner here with Sue on the stage.
Thank you very much, In Control. Congratulations, HeroMarine. 2 years ago here in Montreal, it was True that knocked you out of this event, and now 2 years later, here today, you're the one that defeats him. So how does that feel?
I think I've gotten quite a bit better since then. At that time, he had a very unique playstyle, he still has, but I figured it out more after the years, and yeah, that helped me a lot winning that series.
And speaking of improvement, this entire year you've just been improving nonstop. Each WCS event you have a higher placing. So coming into this event, how has your condition been feeling? Because I feel like every time I talk to you throughout this year, you've been talking about how you're feeling more and more confident as we move forward.
I think I'm doing pretty okay, but I think I was better a couple months ago. However, I feel still confident. I feel like I can show some very good games here, and maybe even get further than last time, this time around.
Well, we'll see, because you have to win your next match, of course, if you want to move forward into the playoffs. It's going to be either a TVP or a TVP, and either Masa or Shadone. So how do you feel about your TVT or TVP?
I like to play Protoss and Terran more than I like to play Zerg, but it always depends on the player. Shadone is very tricky, and Masa is someone people underestimate because he has his up and downs. I feel like I'm favored against both of them, but anything can happen, honestly.
All right, well, congratulations again, and thank you for sharing your thoughts here, Marine. Let's head back to the desk with the boys and Nathanias.
Big Gabe going ham in this Terran versus Zerg series. Congratulations to HeroMarine as just some really, really sharp play. I think taking advantage of the early game really well. Those Hellbat attacks set him up so nicely, Fear Dragon.
Oh, just dominated and shut down a lot of the drone mining with some of those Hellbats attacks like you were talking about. And also handling a lot of the counterattacks from True pretty handily. I mean, True maybe got 1 or 2 good counterattacks in, but for the most part, wasn't really able to make it work.
It's hard to counterattack, of course, if you take a lot of economic damage early on, right?
Yep.
Because then your counterattack is more than just a let's test the water. It's just like, oh my god, please do a lot of damage. Otherwise, I'm really kind of dead. I think HeroMarine's shown us there that he indeed has grown tremendously as a player. Just picked smart strategies, stylistically going up against someone like True. Just job very well done, I'd say.
Yeah, I loved seeing him go mech against him personally. I mean, you see True loves those lings, he loves those queens, but there's no Baneling Nest against the first attack. And it's like, well, how are you going to kill 12 Hellbats?
Well, I actually am observing a game right now, and it's actually at the climactic moment, potentially. It's Haas versus Clem right now.
Ooh.
And Haas he's been playing exactly like Haas we would expect him to play. I don't actually know what the score of the series is, but we have Haas. He's got some of the Phoenix opening. He's got a big round of Adepts, and it looks like he's actually about to win this game. I just want to contextualize like this. He has a gold base over here that he took after he tried to fail a proxy Stargate twice, which Clem tried to bunker rush the proxy pylons, shut them down. Haas just follows it up with Stargate at home, goes for the Adept all in, and he looks like he's got this in the bag.
Yeah, he's still got a lot of Adepts in the main base. Well
Haas
done.
games are always so weird.
Young Clem just didn't know it hit him.
I think opening the doors there was a very big mistake. That tank was sieged up right on top of the depot, and that's when he tried to move it, but that obviously allowed all the Adepts to get in, so Haas.
Are we surprised to see a game like that out of Haas? No.
We're not surprised to see a game like that.
Are we surprised to see it still work? Yeah.
Yes. everybody getting caught off guard. I mean,
Haas has a super doable group, by the way. This is a group that Haas can make it out of.
And that would absolutely secure his ticket to the global finals. If he advances to the round of 16, he's done. Like, he doesn't have to worry about anything anymore. It's already very unlikely that he's gonna drop out of the top 8, but it's still very possible because we have a lot of good players that are still in the running. And obviously, you still have to take into consideration that even someone that's like ranked 15 or below could win this event. Likely no, possible a tiny bit for a couple of them. But yeah, if Haas makes it into round of 16, I'd say wrap it up and send that man to Anaheim because he's going to be there, Nate.
Yeah, and I think that's such a cool storyline because he's kind of had that build-up over this whole year, culminating in Valencia being one of the weirdest StarCraft tournaments of all time. Roddy, you've got a game going on as well?
Yeah, game 2, not too much is happening yet, but let's go ahead and take a look at it. This is a very, very exciting match because this is already the lower bracket match of this group. But do you know who the other 2 players in this group are, Nate?
Ooh, Kev.
Scarlet and Utermal.
Ay, ay, ay.
Yes, ay, ay, ay. So that's obviously a very big group for Nurture, who kind of needs at least a couple more points to be sure of making it into the top 16. Well, we caught a glimpse of this game. Really not much is happening yet. I can talk to you guys about game 1 real quick. A game near and dear to my heart. 3 Stargates, a lot of Phoenix, a lot of air upgrades, plus 3 carriers, and a beautiful Protoss victory.
I've never seen Roddy in so much pain watching that game, though, just being like, why isn't he doing this?
There were a couple of things that could have been more optimal, but when I see 20 plus Phoenix with upgrades, I'm a happy man, Nate.
The other players you mentioned in that group, by the way, are going to be our next match, Scarlet and Uthermal. More TVZ because we know you guys love it.
That's an amazing one.
And that should be a dynamite match. We're gonna take a look at the groups as we are now in stage 3. Our beautiful graphics show you everything.
Wow.
Cyril, oh my God, he
Is that
won
an
his
error?
first match.
God.
Sarah on top of a group, really?
Cyril beat Denver.
So strange.
To be honest, Denver has been giving him a run for his money a couple of times. Put up a couple of good fights.
Can we also just point out poor Stefano back in
the all Zerg group.
Ouch.
Man, and I actually thought the fact that he won his group was going to be good for him in the likelihood of, you know, somehow preventing a couple of Zergs ending up in his group. But the... yeah, never.
Let's be optimistic here. If Stefano makes it out of this group, that's 2 less Zergs he has to worry about matching up against in the playoffs.
Yeah. Okay, let's go on to the next group. All right, Special
This group
took
is
his
sick.
first match against Showtime.
Yeah,
I imagine that's a hell of a match.
Massive victory, but nothing is set in stone yet, because obviously Expect I see as a massive underdog in this group, but another young man, a young Italian stallion, Raynor is in this group as well. Raynor has done very well in ZvP in the past. Raynor has done well against Special already as well, so this group is far from set. What an insane group B here. We're going to lose one of those 3 amazing players already.
Wow. That is going to hurt. Group C, we got Cyan, Mana, Neeb, and Semper. A lot of PvP. Semper, this is the second group in a row where it's all Protoss for him, by the way. So his TVP is just getting tested like no other day. If he was feeling good about one matchup, today would be the day for it to be TVP.
I know for the past couple of months, he's been working on that TVP a lot, since I think a lot of his Challenger matches were also a lot of Protoss players. So it's going to be somewhat to his benefit, but this is a tough matchup group for Semper. And Mana also kind of had a hard time right now versus Cyan. I think he's sitting at a currently 1-1 score.
Okay.
But I still look at Neep and Mana there to advance. Like Neep as the big favorite, Mana as the guy that we expect to be in the top 16 as well.
Okay, and Group D, you guys are talking about Haas. We got Jon Snow, Clem, and Hut. Hut, a player that we don't see too much in WCS, one of our Australian players coming out. And
this is one of the groups where I feel all 4 players could make it out.
Yeah.
For me, Clem is the favorite and Hut is the underdog, but I would not be shocked if Hut makes it out of this group. We know that he's been putting up really good results in that Southeast Asian region, and he just looks good overall. We know he's a very motivated guy as well. Jon Snow, I feel this is a perfect group for him. I really think it is. Like, come on, Jon Snow. Finally, you don't get a Sero or a Showtime or a Special
This is a great breakout opportunity for him if he wants to continue to cement himself. Looking at Group E, we've got a Laser in the lead over Xanster. Meanwhile, Probe and DNS going at it as well. Decent bit of a PvP there.
Yeah, Probe been having a bit of a hard time. I know Pig was kind of had a shaky foundation in terms of faith with Probe right now, but we'll see if he can pull things out there.
And as we can see, of course, we just played out that match of True versus HeroMarine. So True will go into another ZvT against Masa. HeroMarine is going to be playing against Shadone in the winner's match to see who makes it out in first place.
I'm really interested in that one because I feel HeroMarine versus DNS is a match that I'm always excited for, and then HeroMarine just beats the living crap out of DNS. Curious to see if Shadone, the other French Protoss, can do a little better.
It's awesome the amount of games we have going on here. Scarlet winning her first match, and Thermal. That's going to be the next series that we're getting into.
This is such a sick group, man.
By the way, Scarlet won her series versus Nurcio in just record time. I think before our main stage game 1 started, Scarlet was already done with Nurcio.
Yeah, but the other series was apparently close as well, Thermal. I do see Thermal and Scarlet as the 2 favorites here, but come on, this is a crazy group. I'm still keeping a very close eye on game 2 between Nurcio and Harstem, and I don't want to call things before they're over, but I kind of like where it's going for Harstem.
Okay.
Not over yet, but imagine if he wins it, Nate, and this is a very scary weekend for Nurcio because he's going to keep a very close eye on that WCS ranking. Because, yeah, he's in a good position, but he's not there yet.
The intensity coming up, and of course then we got Kalizer, Lambo, Namshar, and Time. Group of some
group.
TVZ. Yeah, another good one.
A lot of up-and-comers in this group, I would say, because you have Lamba, who had a big breakout performance and getting that kind of semifinals finish. You have Kelazor, who's kind of always like, I think he's actually still doing really well, kind of up and down. You got Namshar, has been doing really well lately, and even Time. Potentially going to show some good performances here.
Showed some great games earlier. And that sets us up for our next series here in Group Stage 3. It's going to be Scarlet versus Thermal, a wonderful Terran versus Zerg. We'll be right back. You're watching the StarCraft World Championship Series.